Something big is brewing in Cincinnati, and it's centered around one of the most feared defenders on the Bengals roster. Trey Hendrickson just shook the table again. And the Bengals front office, they're finally responding. The contract drama that's hovered over this offseason like a storm cloud just took a surprising turn. After months of silence, negotiations between the Bengals and star pass rusher Trey Hendrickson are back on. But let's rewind. Earlier this year, talks fell apart. Before the NFL draft, everything just stopped. Hendrickson made his feelings clear. He didn't show up to practice, he skipped minicamp. He was fully prepared to sit out the season if needed, and the fines started adding up fast. Over $100,000 worth of fines didn't move him. Why? Because to Hendrickson, this isn't just about money. It's about respect. His message was simple. I'm not playing under this contract. That contract, roughly $16 million for the year. Good money, yes, but clearly not enough for a player who believes he's outperformed the deal. YouTube promotion insert, natural and professional. Before we get to the rest of this breaking story, if you're a real Bengals fan, don't miss a beat. Hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like and tap the bell icon so you're first to hear every time Bengals news drops. All right, let's get back to it. Now here's the twist. Despite all the tension, the front office is back at the table. Talks have resumed. That's the first real sign of progress we've seen in months. And make no mistake, this matters. Hendrickson isn't just a good player. He's a core part of this defense. When he's on the field, quarterbacks feel it. And if the Bengals want to make a real push this season, they can't afford to lose him, not even for a game. So yes, it's been messy. But this latest update, it's a breath of hope. Dialogue means possibility. And with the season fast approaching, that's exactly what Cincinnati needs. Stay locked in. This story isn't over. The silence between Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals front office lasted months. Since the draft, not a single meaningful conversation had taken place. And that kind of deadlock, it doesn't fix itself. It only makes things worse. Let's be real. This defense needs Trey Hendrickson. Last season, he wasn't just a piece of the puzzle. He was the one holding it together. A relentless pass rusher, a tone setter, a leader when things were falling apart. Without him, the Bengals defense looked lost, and if this team wants to turn the page this season, the defense can't afford to take another step backward. Sure, there have been some encouraging offseason additions. The return of defensive coordinator Al Golden brings structure. A few new faces bring depth, but if Hendrickson walks or even misses time, the ripple effect will be massive. So when word got out that talks have resumed, that's not just a headline. That's lifeblood for this defense. Back in May, Hendrickson didn't hold back. He spoke with the kind of honesty you rarely hear from a pro athlete. When there's a lack of communication in any relationship, business, or personal, it creates animosity, he said. It leaves me with no direction. Let that sink in. The Bengals didn't just fumble the negotiation, they stopped communicating altogether. For months, and that silence, it left Hendrickson feeling isolated, disrespected, and ready to make a statement. He didn't get a phone call. He didn't get a face-to-face. All he got was a text message from Zach Taylor, and that was the final straw. That's what drove Hendrickson to board a plane to Cincinnati, not to practice, but to publicly voice his frustration. It was never about making noise for attention. It was about being heard by the people who should have been listening all along. Now, let's be honest, no fan loves hearing about contract drama. We just want to see our stars on the field. The Bengals have the pieces to contend, and when number 91 is on the turf, offensive lines panic. He's a game changer, but without communication, none of that matters. And now that talks are finally back on, there's hope again. Hope that this defense won't be starting the season shorthanded. Hope that Cincinnati gets the full version of Trey Hendrickson and not a standoff. Because in this city, with this team, every snap counts. Just a few seasons ago, the Bengals were 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl win. Since then, they've lived at the top of the AFC, making deep playoff runs and proving time and again they're not a fluke. That's not luck. That's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, a young core that flipped this franchise on its head. For a fan base that once waited decades just for a playoff win, this new era feels like payback for all those bitter years. But for this window to stay open, Cincinnati must protect its foundation, and Trey Hendrickson is a major part of that. And here's where it gets real interesting. Back in February, Bengals director of player personnel Duke Tobin didn't mince words. He said, "We want Trey on our football team. He's under contract, but we believe he has great football left, and we're looking to pay him accordingly." That's not vague. That's a clear signal. The Bengals aren't denying Hendrickson's value. They see his future as strong, and they're open to paying for it. So, where's the holdup? It all comes down to structure and risk. There were reports earlier this year, including one from James Rapian, suggesting the Bengals offered a deal worth up to $28 million per year. Hendrickson turned it down. Why? Maybe it was the guarantees, maybe the duration. Either way, it shows that negotiations aren't dead. They're just delicate. One rumored solution, a 2-year extension worth $56 to $60 million, front-loaded with bonus money. On paper, it's aggressive. But here's the catch. Hendrickson is crossing the age 30 mark, and that's where this franchise historically hesitates. The Bengals have rarely been the team to lock in big contracts past age 30, even for stars. That's the invisible line they don't like to cross, and it's likely the real source of friction here. So now, it's a chess match. The Bengals believe in Hendrickson's future. Hendrickson knows his worth. The offer's been floated. The talks have resumed. And now it's about whether both sides can meet in the narrow space between belief and risk. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about numbers. It's about keeping a Super Bowl caliber defense together, and the clock is ticking. When Trey Hendrickson agreed to his previous extension, it felt like a win for both sides. But now, it's clear the story didn't end there. Duke Tobin publicly stated the Bengals are willing to pay more to keep Hendrickson in stripes. But talk is cheap. The front office now faces a moment where words must turn into action. If you're saying you value him, then show it with a deal that reflects it. And here's where the spotlight turns directly to Cincinnati's front office. With the release of linebacker Jermaine Pratt, the Bengals just cleared up over $27 million in cap space. That money didn't appear by accident. It's available, and it gives the team flexibility to structure something meaningful for Hendrickson right now. Now let's talk value. Earlier this year, Myles Garrett signed a $40 million per year deal. And guess what? Statistically, Hendrickson is right there with him. Just one sack behind over the past couple seasons. No, he may not have the national spotlight Garrett commands, but his production speaks for itself. You can understand why Hendrickson believes he deserves a deal that reflects the current market. Other elite edge rushers like Max Crosby are pushing past the $30 to $35 million range. If the Bengals reportedly offered $28 million and Hendrickson walked away from it, that's telling. He sees himself on that higher tier. So here we are. The Bengals have the money. They've voiced their willingness. Hendrickson has made his case. Now it comes down to whether they can bridge that final gap. As fans, the frustration is real, because while these negotiations stall, the bigger question looms. What could this team accomplish if everyone's on the field, healthy, and locked in? Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson. When this roster is firing on all cylinders, it's a nightmare for the AFC. But every day, Hendrickson isn't part of that picture. The margin for error shrinks. This isn't just about one contract anymore. It's about the Bengals proving they're all in on winning now. Imagine it. Trey Hendrickson on one end of the line and the Bengals' first-round rookie on the other. Two explosive forces crashing the pocket, feeding off each other's energy. That's the vision fans are clinging to. But for now, it's still a dream. Both players are locked in contract situations, and the longer it drags out, the more the frustration builds. Because while potential is great, execution is everything, and this team can't execute without its top-tier talent in sync and on the field. That's what hurts the most, knowing how close this team is to greatness, yet feeling stuck in the mud over numbers and negotiations. But here's the sliver of hope. Talks have resumed. And if there's one thing we've learned about the NFL, it's that things can change fast. What looks like a deadlock today can become a done deal tomorrow. That window hasn't closed. Not yet. The Bengals need Trey Hendrickson, not just for his sacks, not just for his pressure, but for the tone he sets, the fire he brings, the toughness he injects into every single snap. Without him, this defense loses its identity. With him, it becomes dangerous again. So, yes, this is a frustrating moment, but it's also a pivotal one. Will Cincinnati step forward, put the drama to bed, and enter training camp with a complete arsenal? Or will the contract clouds linger and cast doubt on a season that holds so much promise? This franchise has climbed too far to let internal business get in the way of football. And fans? They're ready to stop hearing about negotiations and start hearing about domination. We've seen what Hendrickson can do when he's locked in. Let's hope we're just days away from seeing that version again. Disruptive, relentless, and unstoppable.